One of the hardest lessons that I had to learn was that it's okay that I'm not the right fit for everyone. It is okay. Every part of my core wants to be liked. I want people to be proud of me. I want people to appreciate me. I want them to see how hard I work. And the idea of rejection, I didn't win a listing. If I wasn't picked to be the representative for buyers, that was just so painful for me because it made me go back and question, what did I do?
Hello. Welcome to another knowledge bomb episode of Lead to Greatness, where we believe in helping others reach their greatest potential and together change the world. Today on Lead to Greatness, we have Kristi Jenkins. And if this is your first time, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of these amazing episodes. And if you're on iTunes, go ahead and rate the podcast and leave a review. That helps get the word out to great leaders and entrepreneurs like yourself. Please help me welcome Kristi with Master the Art of Customer Satisfaction.
This is Cedric Francis, and you're listening to Lead to Greatness.
My name is Kristi Jenkins. I am a managing broker for Real. I have been working in the real estate industry for over 21 years. Here just outside of Seattle in Sammamish, Washington. We're about 20 minutes outside of Seattle in the suburbs, what people call the Eastside. And I have two grown daughters and a husband, and I kind of fell into real estate. I think most people get into it intentionally, but I really feel like I fell into it. I was working in corporate America for a big gaming company, and I had my first daughter. And I just, I wasn't sure that I wanted to leave her all day, every day. And yet I knew deep down at my core that I had something more to offer the business world and our financial freedom and all of that than to stay at home full time. And so my mom was doing this. She and I were partners for many, many years in this. And it worked out really well because childcare and real estate kind of go hand in hand for being accessible and available 24/7 to clients. And so it worked out for a number of years while I was raising my girls. And so that's why I say I kind of fell into it and then I fell in love with it. Wow. So it found me, I think.
What do you love most about it?
I love that my clients become true friends. I say that I'm, a realtor for life. And I really believe that that's because it is a relationship-based business. This is definitely not a transactional business. Like I think a lot of people, even a lot of real estate agents think that this is a sales job, a transactional job. But I have seen it from the very beginning as a very organically relationship-based business where you're providing a valuable service. And if you're not looking at this as, a long game, as a way to build a long-term business, a career out of this, then, then this is just a job and it's going to come and go. I have helped one client, he and his family buy and sell 12 properties over the years. So some of them primary residence, a few investment properties, a second home, his mom's home, his son's first home. So it's really exciting when you get to see that full journey. And I've also helped my parents move from the house that I grew up in, help them purchase the home that they ended up, kind of finishing out their working years. And then just before the pandemic, I moved them into a retirement community. So amazing. It's just really fun to go full circle with people and see their different stages and be invited to their kids' graduations and, go over for dinner and see what they've done to the house after they've moved in and kind of made some changes. It's definitely my favorite part of this job.
Well, that's pretty cool. I was actually looking on your website and I thought it was phenomenal. You click on it, it starts off with the home, the videos that's going on, and then you're walking out. And I really want you to kind of open us up with the idea behind this because it was warming, it was inviting. And I mean, you're in Seattle, I'm in Texas. I'm like, man, I want to meet her. I want to work with her. I'm really trying to express and really trying to explain how I felt, but I really honestly I don't know. I just know I felt good. Yeah. What's the deal with that? I don't even know what to call it or whatever. What happened? Was this intentional?
I feel like you hit the nail on the head. People look for real estate objectively, but they buy subjectively. They buy because they fall in love with something. They buy because they see their kids growing up in that area. They see that they're going to be, you know, family movie nights in that media room. They see what they're going to, you know, turn this area into.
Yeah.
And so I think when you can create a story about that home from the very beginning, I think that you bridge that gap between looking for a house and finding a home. And that's why I think that storytelling is so important. It's what I really try and do, not just in my videos to introduce me for people to get to know me, because there's a story behind me and what I do and what I do for you. But for every home that I sell too, there's a story. All of my clients put together a top 10 list. What did they love about the home? It could be the house itself or the yard or the community or, you know, where they walked their dog. It could be anything about it, but you connect that family that's leaving to the family that's coming in, and you have this immediate organic connection, and they feel like they're already part of the home, part of the story of this home. That's just a continuation.
Yeah.
I'll tell my videographer he got kudos today.
Absolutely. I mean, it was really amazing job.
A lot of that I learned several years ago when I started working with Ryan Serhant, and he's really big on storytelling. That is, I think that's his superpower. He connects with people in a really authentic, unique way. He is as, you know, goofy and self-deprecating and warm and kind as he is in person as he is on TV. But he, aside from that, he really has this generous spirit about him. And I think what he really has done incredibly well is kind of bring us into his world a little bit. And his world from an acting side, it combines, you know, you're not like you're putting on a face or acting when you're talking to people, but you're engaging with them, you're bringing them in, and not just talking at them, but you're really starting a very authentic conversation about what they want, what they need, what their pros and cons are. You know, a lot of times the spouses or partners, you know, they have very different ideas about what the ideal home looks like. And it's really understanding and getting to the core of what are they looking for? Who is the decision maker? You know, that's part of the process too. You may have one who's a lot stronger in the decision maker process. You may have one that doesn't talk a lot, and maybe that's because they really don't have that much of an investment. They really are going to be happy with how it turns out because they're not as definitive in what their wants and needs are. They just want to make their partner, their spouse happy too. And that's okay as well. But I think it's really important to have those really authentic conversations so that you understand, all right, I've got a resource for that. Or let's pivot. I don't think they've thought of this area, and I think this really fits their needs. Or, you know what, they've been saying that they didn't want a backyard, but all I keep hearing them talking about is, you know, putting that playset out in the backyard and having a shed and doing a fence. You can't do that in these, you know, 0 lot line properties that we've been looking at. So I think it really is just listening and understanding and having a lot of resources to go back to and say, all right, let's pivot a little bit. Let's change directions.
And what I've learned is sometimes people don't even know what they want. They never really thought about it. And here you are, not just selling, but giving them what they want, even when they didn't know they wanted. Like you were talking about, you know, the items in the backyard. I mean, let's talk about, have you always been like, you know, just this just a natural thing for you, or is it something that you learn? And if it's something that you learn, what was that aha that got you into this is the way to do it?
I think for a long time, you know, I think we all are products of, you know, you don't know what you don't know. You know, I grew up and I was very, I say classically trained because I was classically trained as a pianist, but I was classically trained as a real estate agent too. You know, you write contracts and you send them across and you negotiate and you try and get to a point where everybody meets in the middle a little bit. And for a lot of years, that's how I did my business. I think that's how a lot of people did their business. And then you introduce social media and you introduce different marketing techniques, and you introduce AI, and, you know, you talk about all these different pieces of the puzzle that all fit in together, and you start interacting with agents in other areas of the country, and you realize that not everybody does it the same way. And you realize that people are willing to share what they're doing and what they're having success with. And you get all these new ideas. And I think it was about 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, that it really clicked for me that this process, this whole idea of buying and selling homes could be really different. And that's when it really, it changed. There was definitely a change in my mind that kind of shifted the way that I went about approaching things. And, the idea that it's not about the brokerage that I represent, but it's about me and the brand that I've created, that people are attracted to me and what I have to offer, and they're going to come back to me. That was a really big shift too. And Serhant's team was really a part of that as well, because it just opened my eyes to the idea that it could be done differently. And I loved that. I loved that I got to kind of put a fresh spin on this thing that I'd already been doing for a very long time. I think before it felt like a job. It was, and I love that, every day is different, and there's still so many components of what I do that haven't changed. But my outlook on how I can service people and how I can help integrate them into the community, I think that's a huge part of my job, and why I focus on this area of Sammamish that I know so well is because I have the ability to connect them with the resources and introduce them to the coaches and the teachers that are going to be at their kids' elementary school, and make sure that they know about the dance studio that's just down the road, and my favorite restaurants. And when you can help integrate people into a community, I think that really changed for me. And like it is for a lot of real estate agents, I will still go anywhere that my clients need me to go. And I don't just stay in Sammamish, but it changed kind of the focus of what my business growth and trajectory was, because I just knew that if I was going to do this for another 20 plus years, I needed to really find a very clear path and a very clear lane. And to me, nothing makes more sense than working in the area that you know and love the best.
This is good. This is really good. We're really definitely learning. You mentioned Ryan Serhant earlier. I mean, he's one of the top real estate brokers. I mean, at least in the U.S. How has him as an individual influenced your leadership style and your approach to mentoring others?
I think one of the biggest things that he taught me was it is about who you surround yourself with. It is about curating a team that fills in all of the pieces that maybe you can't fill, either because that's not your specialty, it's not your skill, maybe it's what you hate doing, all of those things. If you've got a team in place around you that you can trust, that operates to the same high level that you do, that has the same standards, that answers phone calls right away, that responds to emails immediately, that problem solves with a creative mind, all of those things, if you surround yourself with those people, you are going to be exponentially successful. And I think that is his leadership style. I have met more top high-level, amazing individuals through my connections with him than I have met in the past 48 years of my life. I mean, it's just the introductions that he's given me to people that are kind of in his inner circle, and the way that has branched out has made a tremendous impact on me. And it encourages me, to be, I got into this, and this is kind of backtracking a little bit, but I got into this to show my girls that you can do anything you want to do. You can be a present parent. You can go to your kids' stuff. You can be a room mom. You can be the party mom. That's what I did for most of my girls. I, did the parties in their classrooms. And you can be a successful business owner. And I never wanted to put any expectations on them, except that my husband and I were going to support them 100%, and that anything was possible. And I just felt like leading by example was the best way that I could show them that. And so I think that just kind of continues now as I'm mentoring younger brokers and kind of figuring out the idea about this job and what people, especially young people, think about what we do and what's involved and how easy or difficult it is. That's very different than it was 20 plus years ago. And so I think that kind of translates now into how do I help younger, newer brokers understand what their value is, what their skills are, how does that fit into this workplace, and how are they going to be successful. I met with a guy, a very new broker at a coffee shop just a couple of weeks ago, and he was asking what should I do to build my business? Do I go door knocking, or do I just host a bunch of open houses? I think I can talk to 80 people a day doing this. And I said to him, I said, okay, let's pull back a little bit. What are you really good at? Well, I've been told I need to do, no. What are you really good at? You're really good with people. Okay. You're good face to face. I'd talk to him on the phone. I knew he wasn't nearly as good on the phone. Cold calling people, that is probably not in his wheelhouse, but face to face, he's warm, he's friendly, he asks a lot of good questions. So let's draw on this part of your personality. So in terms of where he would fit best, I think he needs to understand where his skills are. He's also young. Social media is his thing. He's really good with creating content and editing videos. Wow. So we really took a step back and evaluated what are his strengths, what are his weaknesses. He doesn't have a big network of people. He doesn't have a lot of leads. So in terms of bringing something to a team or a brokerage, he's got to understand what he can bring to the table. Too many people are just feed me, give me leads, give me opportunities. No, you've got to go in and say, what value can I provide? Prove your value, and then see what comes back in return from that. And I think that's just a shift in kind of how a lot of young people think these days. It's up to you to prove your value first before people should feel compelled to give you back something.
Kristi, that is a knowledge bomb. This is, I have a twofold that I'm really dealing in my head. I'm like, man, just time. So I'm really, because man, you really got my mind going in some different directions. First of all, you talked about the young broker, and you mentioned earlier about finding the right team, and then you talked about strengths and weaknesses, and I'm like, man, all this tie into the same thing. It's the same concept, your weakness, and I want to, because I think this is a challenge for most of us, is finding the right team. How do we do that? You find somebody and you put them in place, and they don't they don't fit the culture. And what mistakes are we making, and how can we get this thing right?
I think part of it comes back to who and how you originally got into this business. So was it because of somebody who saw something in you and felt like this would be a good jump, a good step? And if that's the case, they probably knew you from a different job or career that you had before. So maybe they saw something in the skills that you were doing. Maybe you were an exceptional salesperson at a different job, or maybe you were a connector. Maybe you were, good at numbers and financial, and they felt like that connection was kind of what was missing in some teams. So first of all, to talk to people that already know you and trust you, and maybe kind of already see that connection. But beyond that, I do think that there are some brokerages that have a really good training platform, who are good at connecting new agents with more experienced teams that they can help that. And that's why I think that skill assessment is so imperative. Because if you go in and you're asking to be fed, but you don't really know what value you can bring, and you got to kind of deep dive into knowledge, whether that's, there's so many different books and ways that you can kind of get to the core of what your skills are. But I think ultimately, unless you're, fresh out of college, which I think still a lot of young people know, some of their skills and abilities then, but if you've been in any kind of career, draw from what your experience, gave you in that former career, and build off of that. And that's how you find, I think you also look around and see, who do I respect in this industry? And you go and you talk to them, have coffee, offer to take them out to coffee or for a glass of wine, or, whatever, and talk to them about their journey and what their needs are. And I think those conversations just build those natural connections.
Knowledge. This is really good. And the thought came to me is somebody asking to be fed, but don't know what they want to eat.
Yeah.
It's like trying to understand that part. What do you have the hunger for? What do you,
Yeah.
what do you want to, what do you feel like eating before you ask someone to feed you? I mean, this is really,
Yep.
man, this is really great. This is really, really, really amazing stuff. You did the assessment, you know your strengths. And so what do you do with the weakness?
I think you look at the weakness as opportunity for growth.
Mm,
It's not a weakness. It just hasn't had the opportunity to stretch yet, right?
mm, mm,
There are things that I'm not great at, and I either have a team that supports me or I figure out how to improve my skills in
mm,
that area so that it doesn't become a weakness, or so it doesn't become a weakness that impedes me from doing my job.
mm,
It might still not ever be something that I'm exceptional at or that I love to do, but it can end up becoming something that doesn't keep me from doing something that I want to do or need to do. And so you look for opportunities for that, that growth. And whether that's from mentoring or whether that's from reading or whether that's kind of seeking out some additional knowledge, I think you look at weakness as a temporary setback, not as something that can't grow.
yeah.
And this goes back to how I build my business from the very beginning. But I think the people who are around me are people that know and trust me the
Mm,
most.
mm,
So it's much deeper than just a business relationship. It is a partnership.
mm,
And I think my videographer, not to harp on him, but we've been doing this for a couple of years together, and doing social media, starting social media over the age of 40
mm.
is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I started off, you get all these ideas and advice, and I got the gimbal and I got all this equipment and I got the microphone and all that. And ultimately, I dreaded every time I had to get on
Um,
the camera, and it prohibited me from utilizing and kind of doing this part of my job
yeah,
because I was doing it on my own. It was something that I didn't like. I didn't know how to do. I wasn't doing it well. It freaked me out. And it ultimately made me nauseous every time I thought about doing it. So I
yeah.
knew I needed that piece, somebody who knew me, who understood kind of how I talk and how I move, but who also wanted to get me out of my comfort zone a little bit, because
Mm,
he also knows what is popular, what people are looking for, what connects with people, what is really going to show me, but in a light that people want to see and how they better understand me. And so I think it's about having people around you who know you, but who also push you a little bit and
mm,
push your boundaries.
mm.
So to that end, I've got an executive assistant who handles a lot of the details of my paperwork and just kind of keeps me on track and calendaring and sends me reminders. And I'm a firstborn type A perfectionist with a
Mm.
little OCD. So I don't need a ton of help with a lot of that stuff, but it freed me up from feeling like that was taking up so much of my brain space, keeping it
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
So sometimes even the stuff that you do well, you just need to free up that space and that
Mm,
time
my goodness.
so that you can do other stuff
Mm,
well. I still want to build my
love
team
it.
so that
Love
I
it.
feel like, not because I want to do more business necessarily, but because I want to continue doing it at the level that I've been doing it. But as this business and this job gets more complex, there's things that, have helped, like AI, if you learn to use AI. And I've embraced a lot of the pieces of AI and figured out how I can make it work for me.
Yeah,
But there's also a lot of things that take more time and that do
yeah.
take more energy. And you've got to have some resources to be able to do that too.
So once you get the team or you get there, like what's your next focus?
I think one of the things that is missing so much in this industry is a heavy focus on being incredibly well trained. I
Mm,
think that people have a negative idea of real estate agents for one of two reasons. They've either had a really bad experience in the past, and
absolutely.
that's tainted their view going forward,
Yeah.
or they just don't understand what we do and how it is that we've gotten to the place that we've gotten to. They don't, and it's not just about putting out a list on social media of the 64 things that realtors do. It's so much deeper than that. And I think unless we can prove and show our value, there's going to be a huge mass exodus from this job because people just can't they can't sustain everything that's required. So I would love to be involved in more of the teaching and training aspect of other agents. I think that could be very, very valuable for people to see this job done in a different way, at a higher level of expectation, and with more skills and training and grace for other agents. And, that I think is missing. So I would love to be more a part of that and do, kind of more speaking on client loyalty and really how to build this as a career rather than just doing this as a job.
That's good. What are some practical leadership growth tips, tool, advice that you can share with the Lead to Greatness community to help us reach our greatest potential?
Yeah. I think one of the hardest lessons that I had to learn was that it's okay that I'm not the right fit for everyone. It is okay. Every part of my core wants to be liked. I want people to be proud of me. I want people to appreciate me. I want them to see how hard I work. And the idea of rejection is, like, for a long time, was a paralyzing fear for me. So if I didn't win a listing, if I didn't, I wasn't picked to be the representative for buyers, that was just so painful for me, because it made me go back and question, what did I do wrong? How, why did I fail at this? Instead of going, it is okay that I am not the right fit for everybody. And there could be a lot of reasons. As a real estate agent too, I think for a long time, I didn't really understand too, that a lot of people closest to me, they may not want me to know their financial position. They may not want me to know that them and their spouse don't really agree on a whole lot of things. They may not want me to see them under some of the biggest stressors that they have in their life. And that can be a very real reason that people don't choose somebody that they know. So for, a long time, I think being understanding that I'm enough for most people and I'm not the right fit for a few, I had to learn to be okay with that. I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but that's because I'm wine. And not everybody loves wine.
I love it. Definitely so amazing. Kristi, hats off to you. With everything that you're doing, such amazing job in what you're doing. Thank you for doing what you're doing and adding value to others, adding value to the Lead to Greatness community. Thank you. If someone wants to connect with you and what you're doing, where should they go?
You can find me all over social media at Kristi Jenkins Real Estate. I'm real consistent on there. I've got YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and then KristiJenkinsRealEstate.com is my website. And as a true real estate agent, I have got my phone with me 24/7, much to my husband's dismay sometimes late at night. But I answer my phone, text. I'm very, very responsive, 206-406-1970. And I pride myself on making sure that I'm available to my clients. So
amazing. On behalf of the Lead to Greatness community, I want to thank you so very much for taking time out of your busy schedule and adding value to us all.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
We want to thank you for joining us today on the Lead to Greatness podcast. So remember, if you help others reach their greatest potential, together we can change the world. Peace.